Meet Serena, your virtual companion for emotional support. The ultimate safe space to discuss your thoughts, your fears, and the ups and downs of daily life. Start your free trial today at serena.chat.
Am I the asshole for telling my husband if he wants someone to stay home with our baby, he can do it? For context, I'm currently 29 weeks pregnant. My husband, 29M, and I, 30F, met in college, and have been together for 8 years, married for 2. Our relationship has always been solid and progressive. My husband has never been much of a traditionalist despite growing up in a very stereotypical family. Had 2 siblings and a stay-at-home mom. His dad worked. Up until recently, we've agreed on nearly everything, save for small things, in our marriage and how to raise kids. However, 2 days ago, we were talking about baby stuff, and my husband started mentioning that he thought maybe one of us should stay home with the baby for a while, and not go back to work after our maternity-paternity leave is over. We both work in tech, and make good money and have great benefits. I get 20 weeks of leave after the baby is born, he gets 12. We were trying to decide if we should stagger our leave so someone could be home with the baby until 6 months, the age where most places near us will start daycare. My husband said that he read that it's better for the baby to have a parent home for the first year. So I asked him, thinking nothing of it, if that's really something he'd consider, since he might have to quit his job. He asked why he would have to quit, since I should, obviously, be the one to stay home with the baby. I asked him if he was serious and he said yes, the mom should be the one to stay home. I said, how are we going to make that work on just his income? For context, I make about 3 times what my husband does. It's never been an issue and never mattered to me. I just finished my master's earlier than he did. We both have them, and went into a more specialized field. We both make good money, but it's my job primarily that pays for the lifestyle we have. So I asked him what we were going to do for a year on 1/4 the income with a new baby. He got a little upset and said I shouldn't even bring that up, and that he makes good enough money to provide for us and I shouldn't question him. I got mad, and said it wasn't realistic and it was silly for the person who made more money to quit their job. Especially since he's the one who thinks someone should be with the baby extra time. I was fine with sending baby to daycare starting at 6 months. The fight blew up from there, me saying he's being sexist and not considering my feelings at all. I refused to back down and he ended up taking off after I said he should be the stay-at-home parent if he wants one so bad, and him saying he didn't deserve to be emasculated just for suggesting I should stay home like a good mom. I talked to some of my family and his family about it and the answers are kind of split. So am I the asshole for bringing up the pay disparity and telling him that unless he's the one to stay home, baby is going to daycare? Update. I was reading through a ton of comments last night and got really nervous. Wondering if maybe I was wrong about my husband being progressive. A lot of people were asking why we didn't talk about all this before we got pregnant, and the thing is, we did. We had agreed on daycare. For the people suggesting a nanny, I've begun looking into it, but they are really difficult to find sometimes, because we both wanted to keep our jobs that we love. My husband has been acting weird and quiet since we fought, but this morning I finally sat him down and was basically like, what is going on? This doesn't seem like you. Some of the comments here got me thinking about what his family might be pressuring him to do, and so I asked about that and a ton of stuff came out. He said he brought up the staggered leave to some people in his family at dinner a couple weeks ago. I wasn't there, and a few of them thought someone should stay home longer, and his brother laughed and made some jokes about my husband being a housewife, stay-at-home mom. His brother, 35, divorced, considers himself to be a man's man, and has a lot of sexist views, so he's made jokes before about me being the breadwinner. So after hearing this, my husband snapped a bit because some of his coworkers and his older brother have laid into him a bit about the fact that I make more money and have a better job title, calling him a trophy husband, and other dumb stuff like that, and it made my husband feel insecure, so he lashed out a bit at me, and that's why we fought. He's admitted that he felt really bad about it, which is why he's kinda been avoiding me. We have now agreed to looking into a counselor and more into a nanny service, and he has admitted that he doesn't mind the idea of taking a few unpaid months to stay home. He's just really worried about his brother and friends' jokes. Thank you to everyone for helping me feel more confident to confront this. We are doing much better. This is bizarre. It seems like he is secretly very sexist. Did he never show any signs of this over 8 years? It's genuinely cruel of him to imply that you are not a good mother. It's also really gross to say that any mention of his salary as it pertains to paying your bills and maintaining your lifestyle for yourselves and your child is tantamount to emasculating him. Just the idea of taking care of his own child and relying on his spouse's higher salary is somehow emasculating? It's all so disturbing and gross. Not the asshole. I hope this is a blip and him not just starting to show his true colors. He's the one who thinks the baby needs a stay-at-home parent, and he's also the one who makes less. So he's welcome to stay home, or keep working and baby will go to daycare. But you quitting your job is not on the table and he has no right to expect it to be. Emasculated? But he's effeminating you by telling you to stay home? Not the asshole, you are pregnant and he thinks he has you trapped, his inner sexiest came out. Good luck. I have a feeling that his very traditional family and probably friends have been asking him about the baby and postpartum plans. He doesn't have the spine to admit that it makes sense for him to be the one to stay home because he knows how they feel about non-traditional family care. So because he's unable to stand up for himself in the moment, he's now decided that he's the victim in all of this and you just need to comply to help him save face. But the fact is, you make more money than him and probably always will. Until he can admit, out loud, to himself, his family and friends that his wife is the breadwinner in the family. This will always be simmering under the surface ready to erupt at a moment's notice. Good luck and stay safe. Am I the asshole for wanting to keep my own last name at the workplace after marriage? Me, 21 female, and my boyfriend, 23 male, have been living together since August 2021. I've known since I've met him that I want to marry him. At first I didn't want to marry anyone. It seemed like people would just do it for the title and there is nothing more to it. Well, that changed much since I've met this man. He's just great. He's caring, loving and funny. And even though we've had many ups and downs in which our relationship was tested, we are our own persons after all with different backgrounds and upbringing. We know we are compatible and want to share our lives together. We both have decided we would want to marry, but in the future. I'm still a student and we both feel too young to get married. Now comes the tough part. I am a teacher and my students, 11-15 years, call me by my last name. I feel very proud for what I have achieved and I want to show off with my own name. It is something in my life where I know I did so good and made it work. And it's probably one of the only things that feels like me. I also want to accomplish more in life. I don't know how yet, but I would like to research a certain part of education and publishing the results, in a book, for other people to also learn from it. I told my boyfriend that I want to take his name legally, but also I would want to keep my own last name at the workplace. So I could be called Miss Van Dyke, not my real last name. I would even be okay with just being called Miss Van Dyke, but be registered as mine and his name at work. So if his last name is Paulin, also not real, and my last name now is Van Dyke. I want my name to be Paulin Van Dyke. But my name at work to remain, Miss Van Dyke. Well, he didn't take that well. He told me that there's no point in marrying me then. He doesn't even want to marry in the future if I want to keep my own last name at work. I don't know if he's mad, annoyed or disappointed. But it really sucks. I'm really torn, because it is something I have accomplished in my life and I want my name on it, as figure of speech. But I also really want to marry him in the future and take the next step in our relationship. I really don't know if I'm in the wrong, but it really feels like it. I just need to know if I'm being unreasonable or is the asshole. Where I could be the asshole. I don't want to take my boyfriend's name in the workplace as a teacher. My first language isn't English, so I'm sorry for any grammar mistakes and such. Am I the asshole for wanting to keep my own last name in the workplace after marriage? Edit. I have not read all the comments yet, so I will tonight and respond to some of them. I wanted to clear something up about marriage. We do not want to marry now or soon. We both want to grow up together, so it's a factor to discuss. I will be studying for 2 more years. And maybe 2 years extra for my master's degree. And I do not want to marry before I'm done with my studies. He also agrees. So it's in the far future for us. At least 4 years. It's not like he wants to break up. He just said he wouldn't marry me if that's what I wanted. I think it was an overreaction, because it is not what he expected in his future relationship and married. Still, an overreaction doesn't make this comment okay, I know that. Next to that, I've asked him if we could talk someday soon about this topic. He said yes. I will read all comments before that so I can get an objective view, but also more views about this topic. Thanks for all the reactions. Edit 2. In my country, students call their teachers, Mevrouw, or, Meneer. I thought the translation was, Miss, and, Mr. So that's what I mean with, Miss, in the post. Not the asshole. What you are considering doing is very common and unexceptional. But you really need to think hard about the attitude that makes him think that marriage is pointless unless you change your name, and what that indicates. It is a very territorial statement and shows that feeding his own ego is far more important to him than supporting you or accepting and understanding your feelings. The marriage is unlikely to be happy for you if that's the attitude he takes into it, so be very clear in your mind about whether you find that acceptable before you commit to this person, and if you don't want that, hold off on the wedding until he has had the opportunity to work on that aspect of himself and you feel confident that he will listen to and respect you. Not the asshole. But be very, very careful if he thinks the only reason to get married is to slap his name on you. Then he thinks of marriage as a way to make you his property, not his lifelong partner. Info. What does he think marriage is, truly? Not the asshole. The last name you choose to use is your business, not his. That he's making such a big deal about a nothing issue is very concerning about how he'd behave regarding an actual thing you'll need to compromise on. Like, say, how to raise children. Not the asshole, but please reconsider this relationship. Those are the words of a man who sees you as potential property, not a partner. Am I the asshole? Refused to help my privileged wife cover her increased cost of living. So I, M39, am married to the love of my life, F36. We have 2 sweet kids, ages 5 and 9, and we all live in a house in a nice small typical Scandinavian town. Our economy is mostly shared. More on this in a bit. I'm an engineer, working as consultant. Great pay and benefits. I make more than I spend. My wife has a master's degree in human communication, a horribly useless degree, even according to herself. Since graduating something like 8 years ago, she has been unable to find a job in her field. Note: those 8 years does include her second pregnancy and maternity leave. Here is the thing. My wife has very wealthy parents, like no financial worries at all wealthy. Thanks to them, her share of our house was gifted to her. I still pay mortgage on my share. They gifted her a brand new car, I drive my own. Each Christmas, they gift her $20 her, not me. Besides that yearly gift, she has more or less been without income for most of her adult life, including when she attended university. She did hold a few odd jobs here and there. We share all family-related expenses, utilities, food, insurances, vacations, kids stuff and so on, through a shared account 50-50. Besides that, we have our own accounts. But many purchases goes toward the family, house, kids anyway, so it's not like airtight. You know how it is. My wife recently got a part-time job, 15-20 hours per week, in a clothing store. Pay is terrible, hours are weird and she doesn't get along with the owner. Therefore, she is considering quitting. I'm telling her to go ahead, but also that even a bad job pays better than no job. In my opinion, she is a little picky with jobs. Won't do cleaning, elderly care and other stuff like that, despite those being jobs she is able to get without any qualifications. She keeps applying for jobs in her own field, but so far without any luck besides a couple of first-round interviews. The market is very limited. Because of increased cost of living, you all know the story, her yearly gift and small paycheck doesn't quite cut it anymore. She tells me that she is barely making ends meet. Therefore, she has asked me to help her out, by paying a larger share of our shared expenses. I basically said no. I told her that not many people are as privileged as her and that she really should be less picky or even consider requalification, new education and/or field of work. I felt bad telling her, but also needed to be honest with her. I could help her out, but that just doesn't sit right with me, all things considered. So now of course, according to her, I'm an asshole. But am I? Edit based on comments. My wife did full childcare for both kids, 1 year of maternity leave per child. As of now, F9 goes to school and M5 is in kindergarten. No childcare is needed. Edit based on comments. Chores around the house is shared more or less equally. Edit based on comments. When describing her degree as terribly useless, I meant in terms of job possibilities. Nothing else. And she agrees. I'll probably get downvoted, but this is why having separate finances in marriage is a really, really bad idea. You guys are married, you have kids, you're meant to be a team. It's absurd that you've been paying a mortgage payment on your half of the house, and that she keeps $20,000 annual gift to herself. It's also absurd that you have a great job, she's working a very low-wage job, and you expect to keep splitting things 50-50 like your roommates. Helping her out doesn't sit right with you because you've been treating each other badly for so long. This whole arrangement needs an overhaul, and apologies from both of you. Edit. Wow, thanks for the awards. Not the asshole, but you said your wife's parents are wealthy. They will not live forever. If your wife inherits their money when they pass, are you going to be willing to accept it if your wife tells you that you still have to pay your half of everything on your own? Will you be okay if she takes a vacation and you can't afford to go because your half costs more than you can afford? You are the asshole because of the way you belittle her education. I may not be quite understanding what you mean, but if she has a communications degree, that's a highly marketable degree depending how she uses it. Regardless, don't say asshole things about the love of your life. What would you do if she could not cover her part of the 50% anymore? Let her go hungry? Wow, your marriage is horrible. I don't think you even love her. You are the asshole. Am I the asshole for declining my cousin's wedding invite? I, 27F, have a cousin, 27F, that is getting married soon. Last year she finally got engaged after 10 years of dating. My sister, 30F, and I were invited to go with my cousin to pick out wedding dresses. She said it was important that we were there. It was also the weekend of her bachelorette. My sister and I live in a different state, so we booked tickets and had a great time. While talking about the wedding, we asked my cousin for the date as we wanted to get plane tickets early. She gave us the date and said, "See you soon." Months later my aunt, 55F, told my dad, 61M, her brother, that my family and I were not invited to the wedding as they had run out of capacity for the venue. I had come to visit my parents that morning as we go on weekend hikes. I heard the whole thing. My dad and mom were pretty upset. They had booked tickets and were told prior that they should be expecting an invite. We were very disappointed, but we originally understood that it was going to be a small wedding and maybe it was smaller than we realized. My mom, though, had been through wedding drama before she asked, "How much is capacity?" My aunt said, "Oh, they're having 130 people." We were in shock. That's when my dad asked, "Why wouldn't we be in the top 130? My aunt, ever the honest one, said my cousin doesn't really know us. Like we didn't just go pick out wedding dresses and help pay for a bachelorette. My family has gone back and forth from their home since we were kids, which was never reciprocated. We've sent birthday gifts to her, etc." My dad ended the call with a simple "congratulations." I could see how hurt he was. My dad puts a lot of effort into keeping his family together as he is the oldest child. Both parents are gone, and he moved away when he and my mom got married. I could tell that this was a slap in the face. His family doesn't reciprocate. As a comparison, they were even invited to my older sister's wedding too. They didn't come. Fast forward. My parents refuse to answer my aunt's calls. My aunt calls me instead. She says she has convinced my cousin to allow us at the wedding. I told her, "Thanks but no thanks. We won't be coming to the wedding." My aunt told me I was an ass. She worked hard to get us into the wedding. She told my parents what I had said. But my parents assured me that they would have declined the invite too, as they believe it would be awkward to attend now. Days later, another call. It was my cousin telling me that my aunt was crying. She said I should apologize and be grateful that I was now invited. She had to disinvite others. I snapped, saying that it was her fault for not inviting us and putting our families in this situation. My parents have gone no contact with my aunt for now. I've thought about apologizing, but I also want them to feel bad too. Am I the asshole for declining the wedding invite? Not the asshole, please just stay and see. Not the asshole, their poor decisions that deeply insulted long-term family is squarely their fault. You are not responsible for their half-ass efforts to invite you later. It is astounding that they view fault lies with your family. You are not the a-hole for declining. Best to you. Not the asshole. I make it a point to never go where I'm not wanted. And it's been made clear that your side of the family is not wanted at this wedding. How much did your cousin scam from you and your sister for her bachelorette party? Doesn't really know us, but knew you well enough to invite you for wedding dress shopping and the bachelorette party. I can't stand it when people pull this crap.